Beatty, and I'm Associate Director in Alumni Relations at Loyola, and also a Rome Center alumna from many, many eons ago. John Felice was the director when I was at the Rome Center, and like most of you, my time there was truly transformative. So thank you all so much for being here today. We are very fortunate to have Dr. Sander Evers, with us today to talk about ancient Rome, and we will get to that in a moment. But first, I wanted to remind everybody that the Rome Center turned 60 this year, and we are marking the anniversary with the celebration in Rome, October 6th through 9th. There are wonderful excursions planned, including one led by Dr. Evers titled Roaming Roman Ruins. There will also be an alumni aperitivo on campus, class dinners, a closing dinner in a medieval castle. So I hope you can all attend. Also, just as an FYI, we did change the policy so that registrations can be modified or refunded up until registration closes on August 1st. And I wanted to let you know that so that you could please help me spread the word on that, since I've heard that some alumni were holding off on registering until the last minute. I'll go ahead and put the link to the event in the chat in case some of you don't have it. But we should get started on this webinar, and I just want you to know we'll have a little time for Q&A at the end. So if you have a question, please type it into the Q&A area at the bottom of your screen, and we'll read those out loud and respond to them at about 10 minutes to the hour. Now I would like to introduce Janet Myers, President of the Rome Center Alumni Board and fellow Rome Center alum. Janet?
Thanks, Christy, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. It's my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the Alumni Board. Just wanted to say a couple words about what we do. We are a group of Rome Center volunteers from across the decades, and our charge is to really help build a culture of engagement and advocacy among JFRC alumni and also with current students through events, both in person and virtual, volunteer opportunities, and fundraising. We want to hear from you, so if you want more events, if you have ideas and suggestions on ways we can build community, please do reach out to Christy in the Alumni Relations office. As Christy kind of mentioned, the Rome Center experience touches lives in really powerful, profound, and sometimes surprising ways. And all of us on this call and across the world are bound and connected by that experience. So on behalf of the Alumni Board, I just wanted to thank you for being a part of the Rome Center family, and thanks for all the many ways you help ensure that the Rome Center experience continues for future generations of students and alumni. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Alexander Evers, who's been on the JFRC faculty for 17 years. Is that right? Yep. Dr. Evers? He is an esteemed scholar. He holds a doctorate from University of Oxford. He has extensive teaching in the areas of Greek and Roman history. He's also an active researcher and has published and lectured widely on matters concerning the later Roman Empire and on the early church. He's also collaborated on TV documentaries for the BBC, National Geographic, and the History Channel. So we are in good hands today as we kind of get an overview of ancient Rome, right? It's not at all a big topic. And we were fortunate to have Dr. Evers walk us through a virtual tour of the Roman Forum last year, and we are thrilled to have him back again. Sandra, I feel like this is going to turn into an annual thing, which we would love. Uh-oh, you've got lots to talk about. Again, it's a big topic. I do. So okay. Thank you, Sander, from all of the alumni for sharing this great content with us, and thank you again, all of you, for tuning in.
Thank you, Janet.
Take it away.
Thank you. Chris, yay, take it away. Before I start, though, I have to check whether Courtney, Beverly, and Amanda are there, because you said you would sign up, but I'm not sure if you did. Hope you're there. And anyway, oh yeah, there. Okay, never mind. So let me start sharing my screen. Oh, could someone please enable my screen to be shared, because I can't share it right now. There we are.
There you go.
Yep. Okay, but oh no, wait, let's do this first, hoping. So a whole 2 years of online teaching and technology is still not my forte. Can you see my slide screen, or no, probably not.
We can see it, but it's not in slideshow mode.
Okay, so I'll do this again. Here we are, slideshow mode, share. Now it should be in slideshow mode. And
yep,
there we are.
You're good.
Okay, virtual ancient Rome in about 45 minutes ish. But as Janet mentioned, last year we had a virtual tour of the Forum Romanum, so that's not what we're going to do this time around. I thought of something really exciting. At Rome Aeterna, Umbilicus Mundi, Navel of the World, yada yada yada. You've seen the announcement, and I just thought it'd be nice to have that back up here again. Basically, the image we've all had well, always had of ancient Rome and how things worked and ticked and who was who and when and where. We all have our ideas about ancient Rome, and a lot of it is actually due to the man who in 27 BC becomes Augustus, from Octavian to Augustus in 27 BC, and basically created a world empire. And so today we're going to talk about Augustus. You know this stuff. It's the Forum, and maybe I used this slide also last year, but just to show you that it's not always nice weather. Today, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. One should be outside. And here also, Arch of Titus, Colosseum. We know these images. We've all roamed around Roman ruins when we were here. I hope, at least, that there were students in the past who got away after a semester or even a whole year in Rome without seeing the Colosseum. That hurts, right? Anyway, these images we're all very familiar with, so I'm just racing through these in order to get to my 45 minutes. But then, this beautiful French painting, I forgot the painter, I do apologize. Should have written that down. But anyway, bad historian. Here we are, a painting of the assassination of Julius Caesar on the Ides of March, 44 BC, which is a date which I'm sure you all remember and you should never, ever forget. I will call you in about 50 years from now, and then you still know that the Ides of March, 44 BC are the day on which Julius Caesar was assassinated. Chap with a big dagger behind him. You should know that about 60 senators conspired against him, and he died of 23 stabs to his body, as Roman historians from the era actually transmit to us. So this painting with just one chap, one dagger, not very accurate, but then again, it's French, it's 19th century. What do you want? Anyway, here the Forum again, with in the middle, and I'm sure you've seen this picture also before last year if you signed up, but in the middle, the remains, that little block with the 3 columns of the Temple of Vesta behind it, a little block where the altar of Julius Caesar stood, with behind it the temple dedicated to Julius. On the spot where shortly after those Ides of March, he was cremated in the middle of the Forum, just to make sure that everyone saw that the body was gone and that nobody could claim anything silly, anything funny after the assassination. But there we have it, the Forum. And another Italian painting, and again, I forgot the painter, but of the assassination, with slightly more daggers involved, but also just to show how such an important historical event has had such an impact, basically all the way throughout history, art history, and is always a theme. And if we're talking about tyrants and dictators of the Roman Republic, then nowadays teaching Roman history, of course, has very particular modern day parallels, which we all should be thinking about, and really also understand how important ancient history, history in general, no matter how ancient, how important history really is. Just to prove a point there, learn your history and hopefully the world will be a better place. Anyway, again, the Forum, the Arch of Titus, where after the assassination, this chap here, Mark Antony, becomes a key player in all the chaos that follows the assassination, and eventually it's also him who leaves the stage. But first he takes the stage, and this is another French painting where you're seeing him with the body of Julius. Not sure whether this is the real setting, but this is where Will Shakespeare got his inspiration. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I came to bury Caesar, not to praise him. For Brutus was an honorable man, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, still the assassination of Caesar, which then also as the main consequence really has the rise of this young chap here, Octavian, not with his eyes right now, but the other images where he's got eyes. This is a bronze statue, which is a Greek way of actually doing sculpture. And also he would have had glass eyes laid into the bronze sculpture, but they got poked out. So there we are. Octavian, who becomes Caesar's heir in Caesar's will. So posthumously, he is adopted by Jules, and from Octavius, he becomes Octavianus. And then Octavian becomes Augustus in 27, but we'll get there shortly. Anyway, this man becomes the most prominent of Caesar's circle after his assassination, but he can't do without Mark Antony. And so here you see the two on 2 silver denarii from the 40s BC after the assassination, some golden tetradrachmae from the Greek-speaking East. Still, if you look at the images, spitting image. It really is kind of a model that goes around and you see the same features, the same faces all throughout the Roman Empire. Just imagine how well organized the Roman Mint, for example, was, and just always using the same faces to make sure that everyone would see the same people. This man here, Marcus Tullius Cicero, one of the greatest orators of the Roman Republic, once a consul himself in the year 63, not a great fan of Julius Caesar, and certainly not a great fan of Mark Antony, because he kept saying, you've all made a mistake, you being the assassins of Julius, and then particularly the two, Cassius and Brutus, the two main characters of the conspiracy. And he kept telling them, you should have killed Mark Antony as well, because you can kill a monarch, but you should have killed the idea of monarchy. That was the idea behind it. Everyone supposedly, although lots of interesting theories, which I won't go into right now, but we can talk about once you come to Rome and we'll have a glass of wine at dinner. We can talk about all these historical characters and the theories around them. But question, did Caesar really want to be a king? We don't know, but let's just suppose that Cicero went around and just mumbling, Caesar wanted to be a king, Caesar wanted to be a king. Done. And so with Caesar dead, the idea of monarchy wasn't gone. And that, of course, we will see also with Octavian rising to the fore and becoming Augustus, and effectively being the first emperor of Rome, hence a monarch. But anyway, Cicero didn't like Mark Antony. Mark Antony really didn't like Cicero, and so had him assassinated. Off you go, Cicero, had his hands chopped off and nailed to the Senate doors in the Forum Romanum, so that everyone who would dare to go against Mark Antony could see what would happen to you. So everyone like, oh, careful there, including Octavian, who thought, I don't like Mark Antony either, but maybe I should just join forces with him, which happens in 43. And then just also to kind of find the slightly boring character of Lepidus, the chap on the right. You can see Mark Antony with his curly, looks like the previous two images, his curly hair, and Octavian to the left. Lepidus, kind of the insignificant, but very significant third person. So he was that, all right, let's just bring him in and find a balance between these two very strong opposing forces of Octavian and Mark Antony, and Lepidus was the boring guy in the middle with lots of money. So there's an advantage to it, but there you go. The first, the first triumvirate, not this one, the first triumvirate was an agreement between Julius Caesar, Gnaeus Pompeius, and a chap called Crassus. And then here we have the second triumvirate. The difference being the first triumvirate was a personal agreement. Three guys walked into a pub and decided to work together. These three, Octavian, Mark Antony, and Lepidus, were appointed by the Senate as the second triumvirate, the so-called second triumvirate. There have been many, many more triumvirates, but okay, we're just calling these the first and the second. I don't know why. They're kind of important. Maybe that's why. But anyway, the second triumvirate of these three working together, forced to work together to restore order and peace to the Roman Republic. It's still a republic. It's not an empire. And so these three are pretending to rescue the Republic from its downfall, its decline and fall, and turn it all around. Altar of Julius Caesar again, built on the spot where he was cremated, where also then on the 1st of January in the year 42, these three that you just saw managed to convince the Senate to have the assassins, but then particularly again Cassius and Brutus, declared assassins and not tyrant slayers. So they were actually from that point onwards enemies of the state and should be prosecuted, chased, killed, you name it. At the same time, Jules was declared Divus Julius, so the divine, the god Julius, which was quite convenient for Octavian from that point onwards, having been adopted posthumously in Caesar's will, that all of a sudden his daddy is a god. So if daddy's a god, I'm a god too, which obviously was really, really convenient in his whole propaganda. Because the assassins were declared assassins, the triumvirate went after Cassius and Brutus. And here at Philippi in northern Greece, which you fly to Thessaloniki, you hop on a bus, you turn right and go slightly further towards what's now Turkey, and you get to Philippi, which is, of course, a very famous city throughout a lot of ancient history, but particularly in 42 BC, this is where Brutus and Cassius and Brutus were killed in battle because the legions of Octavian and Mark Antony were fighting against the troops of Cassius and Brutus, and that was the end of them. Cassius dying actually on his birthday in October of the year 42 BC. And here you have a wonderful, wonderful old movie with Sir John Gielgud as Cassius, terribly aristocratic chap, and James Mason as Brutus. So there you have the two. Still the afterlife of antiquity in modern cinema. They died, and so here's Philippi again, the two of them out of the way, and time to move on to Sicily. Why Sicily? Well, because the triumvirate divided the Roman Republic into three chunks, three three territories, which were controlled by each one of them. And then this Sicily, and here's a map, and I do apologize, it's a German map. It's das Römische Reich im Bürgerkrieg von 44 bis 31 vor Christus, yeah. So a map of the Roman Republic divided by the three, Octavian, Mark Antony, Lepidus, and then blue, well, kind of blue, Sicily, Sardinia, Corsica, and Greece is kind of weird right there to the right, but Sextus Pompeius, who used to be the son of the great statesman Gnaeus Pompeius Manius, Sextus Pompeius got sort of like mixed in also. It's a mess basically at this point, 44 to 31 BC, but where Sextus Pompeius takes Sicily and thinks, ha, I can control the food supply of Rome here and can make life difficult for Octavian, who's in the west, who stays in Italy. Italy controlled by the Senate, you'd think, and that's also what the German map here indicates, but Italian, ja, ist im Hande from the Senate, by the Senate, of the Senate. Sorry, where's my English? Silly German, sorry. But where you have Italy also actually controlled by Octavian. And so Sextus Pompeius is thinking, I can make life difficult for Octavian, who's in Rome, controlling Spain, Gaul, Gallia Cisalpina, northern Italy, but then also shush, he's also controlling Italy. And so Sextus Pompeius gets in the middle, but then there's a civil war and Sextus Pompeius is exited at some point also. So really the control in the West, just briefly back to that map, you see that North Africa, or part of North Africa, is in the hands of Lepidus, the two provinces of Numidia and Africa Proconsularis. Lepidus, the boring guy in the middle, also loses most of his influence. So it's really because first he's going with Sextus Pompeius from Sicily, and he thinks like, we can do this, but no, they can't. And so Lepidus is kind of sidelined by the two major forces, Mark Antony and Octavian. Octavian, who is in Rome, buys a house. And this image, I think, also was on the Forum tour last year, but he buys a house on the Palatine Hill. And here are some of the amazing frescoes of Augustus, Octavian, I should say, Octavian's study. So this is, books behind me. This is basically my frescoes are over there. You can't see them, but I have a similar study here. Octavian buys a house in 36 BC. You might think, so what? Well, he just buys a house. He buys a villa. He doesn't build a palace. He's still trying to save the Republic here, remember? So he's really playing cool. Like, hold your horses, don't get too excited here, Octavian. I know you want it all, because he does inherit all of Caesar's fortunes also. So he's all at once, he's the wealthiest guy in Rome, but still like, no, just buying a house, just buying his first house also. It's his first. So he buys it on the Palatine Hill. It looks really, really pretty. But he doesn't boast. He's not, well, he does, but not always and not in all aspects. He just buys a house. And here you've got from the famous HBO series Rome, season 2. Here you've got what's his name again? The actor. But anyway, it's Octavian in that HBO series, which is kind of interesting. It's not always accurate, the series. If you know it, and if you don't know it yet, go and watch it. It's not always historically accurate, but it kind of get things right. But anyway, let's not talk HBO. Here, when Octavian gets things right also, not just the HBO series, but Octavian, by just buying a house and being modest and being sober, and all being sober, not sober, but sober, where he gets everything right. He plays his card right. This chappie here, this is the god Dionysus. Mark Antony says, Dionysus. And you're like, yeah, right, pull the other one. No, serious, I'm Dionysus. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's Mark Antony. He gets it all wrong in the 30s. Poor guy. Because then also, poor guy, bumps into Clio, and there she is in this wonderful painting by Alma Tadema. Yes, I did remember him. But where Mark Antony is like, peekaboo, peeking around the corner, and Clio is sitting there. I'm not inspired. So I don't know. They all say it must have been love, but she's just, no, she's not too cheery. And Mark Antony is very carefully there. But the two apparently fall in love and then do lots of crazy things. And Mark Antony is basically lost. And that whole idea of, I am Dionysus, yeah, just keep going, Mark Antony. 2 coins of the lovely couple, Clio on the left, Mark Antony, still, again, looking the same as all the other coins before, and also the busts and the heads and the statues and what have you. So, passport photograph of the lovely couple from the 30s BC. But that whole idea, oh dear, that whole idea of Mark Antony and Clio together, of course, upsets everyone in Rome, because Mark Antony, this virtuous Roman soldier, friend of Caesar, yada, 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 dared to abandon the city of Rome, got married, by the way, to Octavian's sister, Octavia, and very original names, Octavian, Octavia, but gets married to her, then buggers off to Egypt and hooks up with Cleo, has children with Cleo, marries Cleo. And so here's Octavian in Rome going like, you see this? You see what he's doing over there in Egypt? This is outrageous. This is not what a real Roman should be doing, yada, 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 yada. And so it's reason after reason after reason to declare war on Mark Antony and Cleopatra, the seventh of the dynasty of the Ptolemies in Alexandria, Hellenistic little kingdom over there. But Mark Antony also going like, oh, I'm going east, I'm going to Egypt, and Cleo and yada, yada, yada. But then also with the idea to build an empire from Alexandria, from Egypt, from basically the royal palace of Cleopatra, with all her resources, money, lots of money, and an army and a fleet and everything. The Egyptians are sailing all throughout the Eastern Mediterranean, and so it's really a mercantile kingdom, a mercantile power to really reckon with, and it's always been a pain in the eye of the Romans. And so here are all the reasons to go against Egypt and to declare war on Mark Antony and fight the two, Mark Antony and Cleopatra, during a naval battle at Actium in northern Greece, northwestern Greece, off the coast of Greece. The fleet of Octavian meets with the fleet of Mark Antony and Cleopatra. And of course, the two are defeated. After which, a year later, this is in 31 BC, a year later in 30 BC, Mark Antony and Cleopatra commit suicide in Alexandria. So it's basically at that point, only Octavian, who hasn't been playing nice, really. He was consul for the first time in 43 BC, way too young. He's only 20 at that point. And try telling this to students, you're like, Octavian, 20 years of age, becomes the consul of Rome, and they'll say, what, really? That's us. Yeah. So but then also 10 years later, he does get the whole 10-year period right, because in the Roman Republic you're elected consul for a year only, 43, and then you have to wait 10 years to be elected again for only 1 year. So that happens in 33, but then he's consul in 32, in 31, in 30, in 29, in 28, in 27, 6, 5, 4, 3, then he stops. So basically he's messing with the constitution of the Roman Republic. So, you know, it's not like the good guy is winning here. So it's really Roman history. Everything has to be revisited and revised and revalued. You know, Caesar was a crook in a sense. I hate to say it, but the greatest statesman ever, yes, was a crook. Octavian, dubious. So anyway, he defeats Mark Antony and Cleopatra. The two commit suicide, and Octavian's got the whole world in his hands. Also, because just leading up to that Battle of Actium, which was actually one of the reasons to go to war, at the Temple of Vesta here in the middle of the Forum, nice little temple, the Vestal Virgins looking after the fire in the Temple of Vesta. If the fire is okay, Rome is okay. Octavian got Mark Antony's will that was kept inside the Temple of Vesta. He got it into his study. Someone stole it for him, brought it to him. And in there, it said that Mark Antony really wanted to be buried in Alexandria. He built a mausoleum in Alexandria for himself, Cleopatra. He wanted to be buried with her and their two children. So basically, there in that will, you have Mark Antony's intentions presented to the Roman world. He wants to stay in Egypt. He wants to die in Egypt. He's leaving, he's abandoning Rome and us Romans. Shame on him, war on him. And so there you have the whole play going on. But eventually, it's Octavian who wins everything, and it's Octavian who bounces center stage. Here you see him, one of the most famous statues, and just a fragment of that statue, obviously, but a statue of Octavian found at Prima Porta here in Rome. So this is the Octavian of Prima Porta, where you see him in a military uniform. That's throughout the 30s. He wants to represent himself as a strong military leader. Obviously, civil war, propaganda, you need to appear tough. And again, all these images, yeah, just draw the line all the way to modern day us and see what's going on in the world. Where first in a military uniform, impressive, then here's the very, very famous Octavian, or rather Augustus already. Here's a bust of Augustus as just a civilian with a laurel wreath on his head and nose kind of, yeah, had a nose job there, but sorry, it fell off. Actually, noses are very fragile, so in sculpture you very often see statues without noses, because that's boom, they just break, and here they just happen to glue it back on again. But it's the Augustus Bevilacqua, as it's called, and it's in the Glyptothek in Munich in Bavaria. Beautiful, beautiful sculpture, but where he's presented as a civilian, and that's how he wants himself to be seen. He wants to be seen around the empire. Here's a bronze statue from Greek-speaking Egypt after he's conquered the whole show, and from 30 onwards, after Octavian, after Mark Antony's and Cleopatra's death, Octavian basically takes Egypt. He has himself represented everywhere with a bronze statue, eyes still there. So the image is changing from a military man to just a leader of the republic, a Republican politician, a normal, ordinary man. Well, not ordinary, but dad was a god, remember? But in a toga, and never again in a uniform, which is very, very important. And then you have this incredibly, incredibly beautiful statue where we see Augustus as the Pontifex Maximus, the high priest of Rome. So basically, Lepidus, the boring guy in the middle, they made him when Caesar died in 45, did I almost say 45 there? But in 44, when Caesar died, Caesar was the high priest. Caesar was the Pontifex Maximus. They made Lepidus the Pontifex Maximus. And Pontifex Maximus, yes, nowadays it's a title for the Pope, but it's a pagan title in essence. Long story. Again, glass of wine when you come to Rome at dinner. I'll tell you everything about that stuff. Or maybe, if Janet, you're right, and this is becoming an annual tradition, then maybe next time we'll just talk about emperors and high priests and yada, yada, yada. Everything's possible in life. Anyway, here we see Augustus as the Pontifex Maximus, because Lepidus dies in 12 BC. And Augustus just takes the title, makes himself high priest of Rome. At that point, he's really got it all. He's got the gods, obviously, dad's a god, one, but then also he controls all of Roman religion. So really, really, really important for him to be the high priest. And this is how he's dressed as the high priest. There's no specific priestly robes in antiquity. If you're a priest, cool, you just wear your toga. What you do, you pull your toga over your head and cover your head, and that marks you as a pious, sacrificing person, performing a sacrifice, and obviously sacrificing a whole lot, but he's performing a sacrifice, and therefore you see him as the high priest. This is in one of my favorite museums in the world, the Palazzo Massimo alle Terme, close to Termini station. And the Palazzo Massimo actually used to be, this is really, really funny. So when you're in Rome, again, maybe outside the whole program that's going to be organized, if you want, we can go to the Palazzo Massimo. It's an old Jesuit school. Ooh, that's really, really, that's a nice little detail there. And turned into a museum in the 1980s. So anyway, he's there, and he's very, very impressive. But you see also, toga, no uniform, no military stuff. He's a pious Roman. But although he's a pious Roman and he wants to be portrayed in a toga, he goes off fighting everywhere. He goes to the north, to the River Rhine, and he crosses the River Rhine and he goes into Germanic territory, which is all spooky and dangerous, because you bump into guys like this, Arminius. Arminius, the Germans have this tale that Arminius is actually Latin for the really, really German name Hermann, or Herman the German, but no, Arminius is not the Latin form for Herman the German, but is just a Latin name. So, but anyway, a Latin name because Hermann the German, was a auxiliary soldier. He fought for the Roman Empire, was a Roman officer, actually. He was not just a soldier. He was an officer with a real Latin name, and then just switched sides and got all his German friends to come along with him and fight with his sword high up in the air. He defeated, and that was kind of a bitter pill for Augustus, who in the meantime has become Augustus, 27 BC. But the Emperor Augustus is defeated here in what is known as the Teutoburger Wald, yeah, the Teutoburger forest in northwestern Germany, in Nordrhein-Westfalen, yeah, where they created in the 19th century this huge copper-bottomed statue of Arminius as a symbol of German nationalism and fighting against the Romans for their freedom. No. Yes, they won the war, the battle, but it's nothing related to that whole 19th century nationalistic stuff. But anyway, long story. Excuse me. He did fight these wars, man of peace, but he wanted to secure the frontiers of the Roman Empire. And so there you go. Also built a temple in Rome in his own little forum. The Forum of Augustus is right opposite the Forum Romanum, where he built a temple to the god Mars, the god of war. You want peace? You need war, Augustus said. And so therefore, fighting all the wars of expansion, but also consolidation. And then you need the god Mars on your side to win all those wars. And it's actually a temple dedicated to, have to say, Mars Ultor. Ultor on the other side of war. So Mars, we've gone through this, now we're Ultor, and so we have peace. So it does have that little message there. But part of Augustan propaganda, which, talking about propaganda, there's a lot more. And this is one of the things also you have to look at the royal house of Troy, because it all starts, really, if you think about it, or at least that's what Augustus wants us to believe. And before Augustus, Octavian, also Julius Caesar, we descend directly from the royal house of Troy, because there in the right bottom, you see the name of Aeneas. And Aeneas, who's the son of Anchises, who had a fling with the goddess Venus, as you do. What'd you do Friday night? Oh, I bumped into Venus. And there's Aeneas. His son, Ascanius in Latin, Ascanios in Greek, is also known in Latin mythology as Iulus. And Iulus, Ascanius, son of Aeneas, son of Venus, is the founding father of the clan, the gens of the Julii, Julius Caesar, Octavian, Augustus. They directly descend from Aeneas, and so from Venus. Ascanius, descendants of Ascanius, the king of Alba Longa, has a daughter called Rhea Silvia, goes for a walk, bumps into the god Mars. And there are Romulus and Remus. And again, same family tree. You basically have two divine ancestors. You have Venus at first, and you have Mars. So basically what Augustus is saying, I'm just meant to be here. It's divine will, it's divine providence. And so there you have it. That's used in a lot of Roman poetry, literature. And here we have a wonderful, wonderful Italian painting from the 17th century of a scene from the Aeneid, written by Virgil. The Aeneid, all telling us the tale of Aeneas, how he was wandering around the Mediterranean, finally gets to Italy. He needs to fight a war in Italy against a few people here and there. And his mother Venus, and I do apologize for the frontal nudity, his mother Venus has a round shield prepared for him by her husband, Hephaestus, who of course in Roman mythology is known as Vulcan. So Vulcan and Venus, not a happy couple, but anyway, Venus goes to Vulcan and says, darling, yes, darling, could you make me a shield? Why, darling? Well, because my son, you know, not your son, my son, Aeneas, needs a shield. All right, says Vulcan. And so makes the shield. The way Virgil, the poet, describes the shield in his Aeneid, the Tales of Aeneas, is exactly how you also see it, in the painting, but here's a drawing from that shield before it was painted, where Virgil tells us about the triumphal arrival of Caesar Augustus, and that's him on the chariot there in the middle of that glorious scene, the Battle of Actium just above it, where he defeats Mark Antony. And so you have it all on one shield depicted in a poem, in an epic poem, which the Romans themselves knew by heart. And then again, done in a, what just happened? Fine, wonderful. I need to move on anyway. It's a sign. Just keep going, Evers. Anyway, so Virgil's one. Ovid, the poet Ovid, wrote a book called The Metamorphoses. And there's this beautiful, beautiful tale of the two elderly, the elderly couple, Philemon and Baucis. And there you have Philemon and Baucis on your right. And the god Jupiter and Mercury, the messenger of the gods, to the left. The gods visit Earth, are not let into anyone's house or cafe, bar, restaurant, hotel, you name it. And Philemon and Baucis, a poor elderly couple who have nothing, just live in a hut. They say, oh, come in, we'll give you a place to stay for the night. And they intend to, kill their duck, kill their little piglet and everything, just to serve a meal for. And then the gods go, no, don't do this. We know that you're good people. Anything you want in life. Well, they say, we would like to die at the same moment so that we don't have to see one another's grave. And so the gods are granting their will, and they turn into trees, just like that. And just before the barge reaches their mouths, they go like, love you, darling. Yes, love you too. And the trees are still there in what is now Turkey, in Phrygia. There's a temple to the gods, and the two trees are still standing there. So that's Philemon and Baucis for you. Point of the whole story, they change shape. Everything in life changes. The message behind it, everything changes. Rome changes too, from a republic to an empire. Augustus, you haven't really restored the republic, have you? Yes, I have. No, you haven't. Yes, I tried to, but then it became an empire. Sorry. So that's basically, the purpose behind writing the Metamorphoses. Everything in life has to change shape. And so therefore, you might not agree with Augustus, but it just had to happen from a republic to an empire. Augustus begins to build, or has other people build for him. And here's an example. This is the Pantheon, obviously. We all know, we've all been there. You've all seen it. You've seen the hole. It's still a hole. It's not covered yet. They can't fix it. But it's really, this is obviously the Pantheon built by Hadrian, but the original Pantheon built by Marcus Agrippa for Augustus was the point to actually build a temple to all the gods, the Theoi, and put a statue of Julius Caesar and Augustus in the courtyard, make them gods, basically. But Augustus always got away with saying, well, it isn't me. It's him saying I'm a god. Thank you very much indeed. But then this wonderful, wonderful architecture throughout Rome, which becomes essential in Augustus's propaganda machine. Here, his wife's villa, Livia, had a villa at Prima Porta with wall paintings like this, and the detail, there's something like hundreds of birds and plants all depicted in these wall paintings, these frescoes, and it's absolutely amazing, just to show the wealth of the era which Augustus had begun. That's the tale of it. And then this little thing here, little block of marble, the altar of peace, the Ara Pacis, which was proposed by the Senate. Let's build an altar to Augustus because he's a man of peace. And so again, it's others doing it for him. Let's build an altar of peace dedicated to Augustus. It's proposed in 13 BC. They start in 11 BC. It's finished in 9 BC. And it's a really remarkable little block of marble standing by the Via Flaminia originally, not nowadays. It's by the River Tiber in a museum designed by the architect Meyer, and this is where Mussolini put it in the 1920s. Altar, just plonk right there, because it's coming up soon, also next to the mausoleum. So Mussolini wanted everything nicely put together in some sort of fascist design. Weird, but anyway, it's not in its original location, as you all know, because you've all been here. But remarkable because on it, on all the panels, Augustus, or rather the senators who give it to Augustus, depict all the stories that are related to him and his family, and also depict him as a family man and a man of peace, and yada yada yada. And there you have it. So this whole altar here, the first panel is that one top right, which shows us the god Jupiter looking down upon Aeneas and his son Ascanius, and so also known as Iulus. So you have the family tale, basically the beginning of the family tale represented on the altar. Then on the other side, on that left-hand side where it's bouncing, you have the scene of the Lupercalia, the finding of Romulus and Remus, the twins, by the she-wolf. And there's only, this is the remarkable thing, there's only little fragments left. But based on descriptions of the altar, and also based on similar images that we have from all over the Roman Empire, you can come to a reconstruction that just shows you the she-wolf and the twins there, so at the bottom, and then what's it called? The god Jupiter to the left, and then Faustulus, the shepherd who finds the twins and takes them away from the she-wolf. The lupa, all there depicted. But then little detail there that lupa in Latin also means prostitute. So she-wolf, the Romans found it more glorious and so went for the she-wolf rather than the prostitute found the twins. To decide a procession of the priests of the Republic, not the Empire, the Republic, and senators following on the left-hand side of the altar, but then also with an emphasis on, look at the children. Augustus wants to be represented with children. He's a family man. I'm the father of the fatherland, which is an honorific title he gets in 2 BC, the father of the fatherland. You need family images representing you. Then on the other side, a procession, which we will get to in just a moment. But first, that little panel in this corner here, where we have the earth goddess Tellus with 2 twins. And it could be Romulus and Remus, but it could also be 2 little ones in Augustus's family, rather than Romulus and Remus. But a connection to ancient Roman religion, the earth goddess Tellus, who is responsible for all the fertility, prosperity, what have you. Then there's another panel on the right, but on the right, but no image of it because there's only a tiny little piece left of what is supposedly the goddess Roma. But what is really, really important is this procession where you actually see Augustus and his own imperial family, surrounded by his own family members, also by his closest friends. But here in detail, the really sad thing is that Augustus is the chap kind of like cut through the middle. There's the great Roman leader of all times, and he's just sliced into 2 and just a bit of his head sticking out and his body is mostly gone. Whereas if you then just look back at this one, you see, for example, can you see my cursor moving? You see this little guy here with toga covering his head. That's his friend Marcus Agrippa. And you go, why is Agrippa? Well, I mean, he's so prominent. And then the sad thing, Augustus right there. Anyway, and then you've got these funny little aliens with little pointy, with antennas on their heads. That shows you that the ancient Romans are aliens, and this whole civilization is just from outer space. But then you die, Augustus, and already in his lifetime, he started building a mausoleum in Rome. Just before becoming Augustus, in 29 BC, he begins to build a mausoleum. Also, again, marking himself against Mark Antony, who built a mausoleum in Alexandria. And here you've got Octavian, not yet Augustus, almost, who says, I'm building a mausoleum in Rome itself. Heavily under restoration, excavation, lots of exciting things going on. And I'm pleased to tell you that I actually went there on Saturday to also take these pictures, because I thought, you have to see this. It's just recently open to the public. It's also almost about to be closed again, or might already be closed, as today is the 1st of June. So no idea yet. We have to call and see if they occasionally open up and let people in. Then they're redesigning the whole square in front of it, and it's all going to be state of the art and wonderful, wonderful. Because if you think about it, how ridiculous. And just like him being sliced into two halves, here you have his mausoleum, which in the 15th century was someone's private gardens. On the inside, just everything out, and a nice little Italian garden design with fountains and yada, 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 yada. Absolutely wonderful. Then turned into a theater, and turned into a music hall in the 19th century. And believe it or not, anything you see here, you would not have seen in the 19th century. It was completely wrapped up into bricks and stuff and other structures. And let me show you just a little bit to get an idea. On the inside, wonderful yellow bricks. Yes, that's a restoration by Mussolini. That's not original. That's because it didn't exist. Only the rubble that you see along the walls here and there is original, but even part of the rubble is not original. Like the yellow, again, the yellow bricks on the rotunda, and then the yellow bricks on the outside. That's all fascist renovations because nothing was left. This is where you see the cover. That used to be ground level of the theater and the music hall. So with a large glass dome, and nothing of Augustus, his mausoleum, was visible until the 1920s. And then the fascists came and they decided, let's restore this. But they damaged it even further because they pulled everything out. The theater, gone. But there was nothing left. And so they started reconstructing in yellow bricks and cement. Also, the actual inner circle inside this little circle that you see, the actual inner circle where they kept the urn with the ashes of Augustus, because Augustus was cremated, like most people at that point in Roman history. Fascist concrete, just plonk in the middle, just to give you an idea that there was something there. And you go, yeah, but you've completely ruined the ruins that were already ruined by other people before. Nothing's left of it. And you think, how is this possible? And I'm wondering if Augustus is listening too, because you think you've got all the world in your hands. You've got all this glory, Augustus, yay. And then it's gone. It's gone. Your memory is still there, sure, but all the things that should have mattered, it's gone. Anyway, and then Augustus, when you really begin to realize that the Republic is dead, is because you have succession. And here's Tiberius, looking terribly cheerful. Caligula, mad and bad, but not so mad and bad in the first 2 years of his 4-year reign. Then Uncle Claudius, who had a speech impediment, but everyone made fun of him because of it. But he was actually one of the best emperors Rome has ever seen. So Uncle Claudius, and then you get this guy here, Nero, and that's just, that's it. That's just, forget it. So at that point also, I would just say, coffee. Anyone? Maybe. Let's just all, this is one of my favorite little cafes in northern Greece. No, not in northern Greece, southern Greece on the Peloponnese. You should all come to Europe, to Rome, obviously, to our reunion. And you should also just, let's all hop on a plane and a bus and go to Greece and do fun stuff in Greece with alumni. I don't know. I'm done. Hello. So Q&A. Here we go.
Thank you so much, Dr. Evers. We really appreciate it so much. Yes, let's get to some of those questions.
Okay.
Looks like one so far. If anybody has a question, please put it into the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. This one says, Dr. Evers, you've alluded to this, but what are the biggest lessons modern day leaders can learn from ancient Romans?
Oh, golly, how long do I have to answer that question? What are the biggest lessons? Don't screw up. No. I think what we as the people should learn from leaders from antiquity to then also discover what's going on with our own leaders in modern day times, is basically how you see time and time again throughout the 1st century BC of the Roman Republic, you see leaders being legitimately elected into political office. And then just what are my favorite books? Lots of them. They're all behind me, actually. But so you have what was I saying? So that you see people elected into political office and then just doing whatever they think they can do with the Constitution. And that's something which we see throughout history. That's something we see in the 1920s in Germany and in Italy. That's something which I don't know if you can think of any parallels in recent modern day American history of people being elected into political office and then doing other things. I'm not mentioning any names, but and just look slightly further east in Europe right now and what's going on. So what political leaders should learn is that they really should learn their history and should also learn what not to do in order to stay within what a constitution of a country, because those constitutions are not for nothing, and they've all been designed by people with ideals and ideas and brilliant ideas, and there's a lot of thinking behind them for the benefit of the people at large, and it's really, and it's a debate which can just go on forever. Come to Rome and I'll. Well, again, with a glass of wine and over dinner, we'll talk about this. But it's something which really, you see the patterns from the past that we see repeated today, which all could have been avoided if people actually care about learning history, because it's a tendency. And I hate to say this, but modern day students, you're like, business, law, big money after we graduate. But think, and it's something which, sure, you don't have to end up being historians, everyone, please, because then I might have a job. Although I like to think that maybe I can defeat John Nicholson and be here for more than 52 years. But
right. So not to cut you off, but we have quite a few other questions. So
I know. Okay. And
why do you consider Claudius to be one of the best Roman emperors?
Because he was, and that's not just me. He was one of the most efficient in organizing an imperial bureaucracy, which with Augustus still kind of pretending to, the Republic is still there, still alive, and let's just float on with Republican institutions. And it just goes, boom, just wishy-washy. But Claudius goes like, we have to organize this. And Claudius actually brings in, again, so under Augustus and his immediate successors, you see the influence of the Senate kind of fading and the influence of the popular assembly fading. But then you have Claudius goes like, bring the Senate back and bring the popular assembly back. So it's basically like House of Representatives and Senate in the US. Let's give them all the power again that they used to have, but now are just, or maybe you still have, I don't know about US politics, but anyway. So it's really, Claudius is the great organizer. And a whole infrastructure. He conquers Britain, actually. He manages. Caesar failed. Augustus failed. Claudius goes like, let's just take Britain, shall we? And then immediately organizes Britain as a province so that it's connected to the whole show that already exists. And so it's really, that's why he's one of the very best. And he's a really modest guy, like just like, does his thing and doesn't like the publicity and the attention. And it's just.
Oops. You're frozen.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question is, what are your favorite books that accurately describe Octavian and Augustus, and that you consider the most accurate?
Oh, geez. Well, there's. If you want to know everything about the Roman emperor and not just. Can we get questions answered post of it? Yeah, maybe I can write them all up. But the emperor in the Roman world is the book, and it deals with Augustus and everyone after Augustus and what have you. But the late great Sir Fergus Miller, and I'm biased because he was one of my supervisors, but Sir Fergus Miller wrote this book, The Emperor in the Roman World, first published in 1977. The Emperor in the Roman World just gives you really the best insight into imperial Rome and imperial administration, culture, every religion, you name it. So it's really, and then there's these really handy Blackwell's companions, for example. There's the Blackwell's companion to the Age of Augustus, edited by a chap called Karl Galinsky. They just give you really good overviews of the reign of Augustus, and then lots of other topics in ancient history. But the Blackwell Companion, or the Edinburgh Companion, or the Cambridge Companion, they've all got companions too. They're good books to start off with, and then all with really extensive bibliography, so you can just go whatever you want afterwards.
Maybe you can send us a list, and I can send it out to everyone who attended.
Sure,
that'd be great.
Sure. I have to teach all day tomorrow, so I won't do it tomorrow, but then afterwards, yes.
Okay, no problem. Someone else asked something similar that I think we can answer after the fact. Where can we find items that you have published? And I think we can probably easily include a list of those books.
In the library of the John Felice Rome Center.
Only there, okay.
No, and in the Vatican Library and some other libraries too.
Okay, wonderful. Let's include a list of that too when we send the follow-up.
Okay, will do. Sure.
Someone wants to know, did inflation and coin clipping bring down the Roman Empire?
Oh, at the very end. Possibly one of the elements, yes. But the real question is, did the Roman Empire ever fall? Sorry. It did come to an end. Of course, it did come to an end. Although, if you go to the Vatican, you can still see imperial glory all around. Although Pope Francis is drastically changing everything, which is a very good thing. I like Francis; he's cool. There's inflation. There's the currency decline. There's natural disasters, there's people coming in, although don't blame the barbarians. Be nice to the barbarians, because they're not barbarians. They really did not bring down the empire. They actually gave it a boost, I like to think. But slowly, everything faded. And political structures, even there, if you look at the successor kingdoms, the barbarian kingdoms after the Roman Empire, they all wanted to be Roman emperors. All these kings were like, oh, I really like to get to Rome. That's where the Bishop of Rome begins to play a role. So like, come, I can make you emperor if you become a Catholic and stuff like that. So it's a very, very fascinating power play, and it's a mess, and it's wow, and yeah, and next year's topic.
On that note, someone wanted to know why, what age you were when you became interested in history, and why specifically ancient history.
Just yesterday.
Yesterday.
No, it's something I picked up. I walked outside. I saw a ruin. Actually, last Saturday I went to the mausoleum of Augustus. Like, crikey, this is interesting. No, how old was I? I was just a little boy, and there's this in Europe. We have this comics series called Asterix and Obelix, which I'm sure you don't know in the US, but it's French originally, and spread like wildfire around Europe as very, very popular in the 70s and 80s. But as a little boy, I was just fascinated by the comics where you had the Romans fighting against the Gauls, and the Gauls had this magic potion and were invincible and could just go and see Julius Caesar and go and send him up into orbit, into space, and then he'd come down again. And it was fascinating. So that's where I really started to go like, oh, I need to find out more. Then in school, secondary school, I had a Latin teacher who was a great storyteller. And so studying Latin with some of the literature, but then also the stories around it, I thought, this is it. This is what I need to be doing for the rest of my life. And I'm stuck now, so.
That's fantastic to hear. So just two more questions really quickly. Is Colleen McCullough's, I'm not pronouncing that Irish sounding name correctly, McCullough series an accurate depiction of events during this period? Oh
yeah, Colleen McCullough. Yeah. First Man of Rome and stuff like. Yeah. Good historical novels. Really awesome. Good stuff. Yeah.
And then someone is wondering if we have any residential study programs for non-alumni at the Rome Center. Do you happen to know?
Residential study for non-alumni? As in, come to Rome and well, you can take our classes. If you're not an alum, then you can register as a student. But no, we don't do. Maybe we should look into this. But also with the reunion, obviously we're doing an after school or not after school, but is it back to class kind of experience. But it could certainly be something that we could dedicate ourselves to a little bit by just offering things, a walk with someone like me.
Yep, for sure. And of course, you can bring a guest to a non-alumni guest to the JFRC 60th anniversary and take the tour with Dr. Evers. So that's always nice as well. But we are over time, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time who's involved here. So,
but you said 2 more questions. That was just one more. So there's one more.
2. One was if the Colleen person's book was.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The other one was the study program.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I tried to sneak in one more, but no.
No, it's totally great. But I want to thank you all so much for coming, and thank you, Sander, so much for doing this for us.
Thank everyone.
Awesome presentation. We really appreciate it. And thank you, Janet, for helping to host as well.
Absolutely. It's certainly the pleasure of the Alumni Board to bring this great content to alumni.
And we will have a recording of this afterwards, so I can make that available for everyone who is here and also for those who are not unable to make it.
Okay.
So if anyone doesn't have anything else, then.
Well, thank you from my part here in Rome, and thank you all for being here. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Christy, for organizing, and great to all of you former students who are out there, and yay. Let's be in touch.
Absolutely.
And see each other in October.
Ci vediamo a Roma.
Ci vediamo a Roma. Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Ciao.